everybody. Welcome back to The Common Theory, the internet's #1 competitive Commander podcast. Today, we actually have two special guests with us. We're welcoming Bernie and Miles from the Jalapeno Pauper podcast. What's up, guys?
What's up? What's going on? Good to be with you.
We're so happy to have you. Today we have an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about game changer. You know, if you guys are all EDH players out there, so I'm sure by now you've heard the news that Wizards has announced the bracket system, right? They promised it back when they announced the bans last year in November? Or is that October? Franklin, keep me honest.
It was back in November, like as soon as they banned, as soon as the cards got banned with the last BNR update, and then everyone got super upsetty spaghetti. Then they were like, you know what, we're going to take away the RC and we're just going to do it ourselves. We'll be right back. And then Vegas happened. There was no news. And now that MagicCon Chicago is coming up next weekend, by the time you guys see this weekend, they released the announcement. They released the presentation video, and Gavin Verhey announced the article as well. Go into better detail of the description of each one of the brackets and why each one of the cards are on the game changer list.
Yeah, so what it effectively is a 5-tier bracket system from 1 through 5, where each tier is sort of denoting the power level of, the expected power level of the table that you're going to be playing at. And it starts from basically chair tribal of like jank, right? All the way through CEDH, like hyper competitive. And there's a few heuristics that they're using in between the tiers to define each one. That's everything from mass land denial, extra turns, infinite combos, and how many cards it requires, it takes to get to that infinite combo, tutors and the number of tutors, and basically how consistent your deck is. And then also the most interesting part, I think, is something called the Game Changer list, which is a list of 40 cards, across the colors plus colorless, that are just deemed to be extremely strong. They're not banned cards. They're, of course, legal cards, but they're also cards that Wizards might be looking at if they were going to ban a card, right? It's everything from, your Drannith Magistrates, like Turgrids, Demonic Tutors, Chromoxes, One Rings, even Commanders are on there, like Kinnan, Winota, Yuriko.
Yuriko's
so
on
it's
there.
Psych Rift, it's Force of Will, all the free interaction basically is on there.
Oh, no, just Force of Will and Fierce Guardianship.
Oh, okay. Negation's on there. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, because they said that those are the two best in class ones.
Yeah, but it's kind of strange. But that's fine. They're really strong cards, right? They're really, really powerful cards, which is all well and good, but we are talking Pauper here. So what we'd like to talk about is if there were game changers in Pauper, what would they be? Also, how do we define power levels in Pauper? What makes a competitive Pauper deck truly competitive? Is it just the mindset, or is it the way we build the decks themselves? There's a lot of, gray area in there of, what makes a deck fit into either way. Maybe you're someone who shows up to tournaments and you run your ultra competitive chair tribal decks, or squirrel decks at the competitive Pauper EDH tournaments, and you crush it, and shame on us for not including your deck on the tier list. But first, Chris, how you doing, man? How was your weekend?
Oh, bro, I'm not too bad. Well, I'm a bit raspy, sadly. Lost my voice, still sick, sadly. But, gonna power through it, talk a little bit with you guys. Not too much, I don't want to interrupt you guys too often here, but I'm really excited to talk about all this stuff. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially since we're here with the Jalapeno Poppers.
Franklin, how about you, man? Have you also caught the Florida virus here?
No, so Aaron actually came down. Aaron was already sick with whatever he had.
Aaron's fault. That's why.
No, we all had the same thing separately.
Sure. Okay. Right.
So we all had some sort of weird head cold, congestion. It's just whatever's in the air. We all got it. But we all had a fun weekend. We didn't really get to play in the CEDH event, but we ended up going to a nice little restaurant.
You're absolutely positive that Aaron didn't come down with biological warfare to get you all sick so he could win this CEDH tournament.
Nah, dude. He didn't hit us with any of that, dude. It was chill. It was chill.
All right. No weapons of mass destruction. Okay.
No, just normal bathroom destruction.
Good lord.
But Ron, how have you been?
I'm good, man. I've been all right. I've been slammed with work, as I feel like this is just like a common thing week over week now. This year's been really rough, but busy's good, right? Playing a lot of CDH, as I mentioned last time. I've got a few more tournaments coming up. Got one a local one next week, a CDH tournament that I'm the TO for. So, and then we've got in 2 weeks Play to Win, Cloud City Gaming. There, I think it's like a 50 man. Yeah, I think it's like a 2K. Then we've got Rags to Riches, CPDH tournament out in Philly on March 16th, which I'm very, very, very excited for.
Are you playing is the question. That's what I'm waiting to hear.
What am I playing? Yes, that should be easy.
Chair Tribal.
How did you know, dude?
That's what he's been thinking. It's on his mind.
Yeah, you got me. I'm playing mono red chairs. And I don't expect to win much, but if I go 0-3 and drop, Queen and Rook has beer on the premises, so it's more time to drink, my friend. That's my goal. That's a strategy. It's a winning strategy. So I've been told.
Cheers to you, bro. Cheers to you.
Valid.
Yeah, RIP my liver. Guys, Bernie, Miles, how are you guys doing? How was your week? What are you up to?
What's up? I'm Miles.
I'm Bernie.
Together we are the Jalapeno Poppers.
Yes.
My week was good, man. I've got 4 children, and my oldest is 7, and he's been reading the Dogman books, and so we went and saw Dogman, and that is definitely a kids movie. So.
Oh, no.
So actually, you say that, but we've seen my partner and I. We don't have kids. I mean, we have a small furry child. It is our dog, but we love dogs. And she's like, "Should we see that?" I'm like, "It kind of looks awesome." But you're telling me maybe I should pass.
If I didn't have children or he wasn't into Dogman, I would not see it politely. But however, Wild Robot.
Ooh, that one's good.
That's a kids movie that adults can enjoy, and it was fine. It was good. The kids liked it, so yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, my week's been pretty busy with work. Not too exciting, but my work did give us Friday off, so we've got a long weekend.
I wish.
Fun Valentine's Day plans.
I also have 4 kids, and my daughter's birthday is Valentine's Day, so we kind of skimp on our own plans and try to do stuff with her. But I think we're going to try to see the new Captain America movie. Maybe we'll see.
Very good.
Okay.
Oh,
Sick.
that is actually a question I do have for you guys, because this weekend, which will be in the past at this point when you guys see this, there will be a Sanctuary event on Saturday. I will not be playing. I actually have Valentine's Day plans with the wife, but I do know at least one of us here is playing. What about you guys? Are you guys playing by any chance?
No, I'm not playing this one.
Yeah, I'm not planning on playing. It's a big time commitment,
Yeah.
and
Agreed.
it doesn't always fit.
Yep.
Yeah,
Totally agree.
and Sanctuary starts at like 4 in the afternoon Eastern.
Oh wow!
So
I didn't realize it started so late.
yeah, it's to help out the Australians.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yep. So
Yeah, so quick little history for you guys. Common Cause usually is usually for Americans. That's why it starts off at like 1 in the afternoon. But over in the Sanctuary server, because we have like a good population of Australians, that event tends to start a little bit later just to help accommodate them. They have to like wake up at like 6 in the morning, but they get to play.
Oh wow!
I did not know that.
Let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about game changers. So I guess Jalapeno Poppers. You guys are mostly focused on the casual game, right? So I guess I'll start by asking you guys: is there a single card or any number of individual cards that when you see someone playing at the table, you're like, what are you doing? that is whack. We're playing casual here. Get that out of here. You can't play that.
This announcement has really made me want to think about that question more, because as we build decks for gameplay videos, there's definitely some unspoken rules that we follow, or spoken rules between Miles and I as we're building the decks to have a enjoyable gameplay experience for camera, right? So even that might be different than somebody's typical casual experience. But as far as individual cards go, Gators brought up a really good one with Pestilence for sure. That one didn't cross my mind mainly because I don't ever consider it in the first place. So that could be a spot where we're kind of blinded, where there's cards that we don't even think about playing. So we aren't very familiar with them in the first place.
I do tend to steer away from those mass. Well, similar to like Crypt Rats or something.
Yeah,
we tend to not put those in a lot of our casual decks. I don't know if a single card. I think it's more categories though.
Let me ask you guys a quick question though, because
Sure.
I'd love for you guys to elaborate on this. You guys kind of said it was like a concept, like an unspoken rule is kind of like the words you use. And I'd really love to talk about that, right? Because like, do you guys ever play against Malcolms like randomly in pods or anything like that?
Not in the casual scene.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird, right? Because it's kind of seems like cards like Pestilence wasn't even on your radar because there's an unspoken rule in casual, which is essentially what this power level system is supposed to delete, right? Like this bracket system is trying to delete this power level system. But I'm with Rohan. I'd love for you guys to kind of elaborate on that. Like, are there cards that you would like, commanders actually, even like, is Ketis, would that possibly be one? Or maybe that's a little bit too far down the totem pole?
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but I think some that we've talked about would be Gretchen, Hollow Marauder, Arabella. Those are ones for sure that I don't think we would ever want to build to play in a casual format. And I think with Gretchen, for example, you could probably build that in a way that wasn't very competitive. You could do something goofy with it. But at the same time, then you have to convince everybody at your table that it's not that kind of a Gretchen deck. And that brings up other problems already.
That's super fair.
And it's going to be really hard to build a non-aggro competitive Arabella deck, right? The way that it wants to be built is just simply, very aggressive, very strong. So that would be really hard to sit down and say, hey, I've got this casual Arabella deck. You're like, what? That's an oxymoron. Those don't go together.
Arabella is truly our format's Winota. It's like you just pack it full of garbage and it's still just way OP.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you played like at an EDH table at like an LGS and someone's like, it's Winota, but it's not that kind of Winota.
Oh, no, I had to do that with Marin so often.
You're like, no.
That was annoying. I was like, guys, I'm not playing eat a creature removal tribal, guys. I'm actually going to try to win Marin. Don't worry.
and you're not to be trusted.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not to be trusted.
Never a caster ever. People are like, oh no, he's going to cast a Fleshback Runner. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not even in this list.
It's so funny.
So I don't know if we have an exhaustive list yet of those, because this is so new. Mm-hmm. We haven't really had a chance to dive into the Pauper scene of all those game changes, right? But I think there's a few that come to mind, a few commanders that are obvious, but I don't know that there's a lot of other single cards. Pestilence, and we did talk about those more harder removals, Oubliette and the new Imprisoned in the Moon. Prison on the Moon, yeah. Those are hard for some colors to deal with, right? Like red.
Yeah, but like, okay, let's be honest. So this was the example that I used in the beginning, in the pre-show with these guys. Tell me if I'm like way too far down the totem pole here. I'm playing a mono red deck. You have the Oubliette, but we're playing a casual game. You so happen to be the guy that wants to Oubliette my commander at a casual table. So I have to play my commander. You have to have the Oubliette. And you're going to want to target my mono red commander knowing I have no way to remove it. That's kind of like the meanest thing to do ever, right? Like why would you do that to me? Like, I'm just like the red deck at the table and you're like, ha,
you monster.
Be like, dude.
Yeah,
that's
but
not
again,
cool.
I think being super mean to like your friend is also the most casual thing you can do.
I mean,
You monster.
if you have that dynamic, sure. But if you're just like that guy that like shows up at the LGS and wants to just
Yeah,
hit 'em.
you should never like do that to a random person.
Yes.
Like, your friend, do it all day, every day, twice on Sunday.
That's true. Context matters, right? Yeah, that makes a lot
yeah,
of sense.
definitely.
Yeah, but if I'm playing, so Chris though, if I'm playing at an LGS with people I've never met before, and someone oubliettes me just like out of the blue, like, and look, if I'm playing with people who I've never played against, it's especially if they're not like competitive players or like regularly play, competitive Magic. Oftentimes my politics doesn't really work very well, and threat assessment is just like, whew, like it almost doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to feel so damn bad when my guy gets oublietted and I'm not in like white basically or in blue to counterspell it. And like, am I even playing that many counterspells in blue if I'm playing casual? Probably not. I'm not packing my deck with like templates counterspells. I'm just wrecked and I'm going to feel horrible. I'd say if there was a game changer list, I would want that. I would want those cards on there.
Yeah.
I would want them on there.
I can
Yeah,
see
makes
that.
sense. I think one of the great benefits of this bracket system is just, the way to communicate with a common language that we can communicate easily. I think that would benefit Pauper as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
that's
see
the
it.
beautiful thing about it. Like, it's just a guideline for the Rule Zero conversation, and that's the whole point of it.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be like this massive comprehensive list that literally walks you through, like, according to this and the metric of your deck, you are in this bracket. It's like, no, you're supposed to just have the conversation with people.
I have maybe a little bit of a hot take. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a hot take.
Oh.
But what I would also, I think, want to see on a Pauper Game Changer list would be all the gotcha free interaction spells like Thunderclap and Snuff Out, Snapback.
Nah, it's not a hot take.
Even Foil,
Yeah.
like all of these free, like, Our Force of Will, basically, like that stuff. I'd want that out of there because, like, the whole point of playing those spells is to literally gotcha somebody.
Yeah.
Right? They're tapped out, they're down, right? Or whatever. You're like, nope. Get wrecked, right? Like, you're not doing the thing. I'm going to table police you right now. So I can win.
Yeah, my only argument against that is that whenever I'm playing, like, Malcolm Kedis at, like, my LGS against casual players, I like touching my island and going, how much mana do you have open?
He has a daze.
Daze you.
He's that guy.
I love teaching people that days exist.
Yeah, but,
So
but
I think Daze has to stay on
that's a competitive mindset. You are being competitive. We're not talking competitive, Franklin. We are talking casual. And that's too mean. That's not cool. You daze me in casual, I'd be so mad at you. I'd be like,
I would
bro.
be pissed.
I'd be like, dude, seriously? Daze? Like,
If I'm playing
it's turn 11, dude. Like, what?
Like, turn 11, you should have mana open. Daze you.
No.
I had this since turn 1.
Bro, if I'm playing my Dina Saproling tribal deck against you, which I do have, and it's dope, thank you very much, and you daze my Dina, I will just cry. I will put tears on the stack immediately. Instant speed.
Let's dive into the next subject. Let's dive into the next one. We got a few to go over here with you guys. Specifically, combo. So we had to have you guys on to talk about this because if you ask any of the three of us, we're going to be like, yes, bring it. But I'm assuming here, because I don't truly know, what are your guys' thoughts on combo in casual pods?
I don't think you would expect to see an infinite combo in casual pods at all. The main combo packages, I don't think you'd expect to see them. Now, combo pieces themselves, parts of combos, a Peregrine Drake here or there. I personally, I don't think that's good value. Whatever. If it's not leading to an infinite combo, that's fine. But a combo package that can win out of nowhere, that's not typical. Hypothetically, if we had a PDH bracket, there would be a bracket that says no infinite combos.
It's hard though too. There's definitely gray area there because we were also talking, and Miles got a deck that has a casual deck. It's not a competitive deck that has an infinite combo.
It's a bad competitive deck.
Yeah.
but it has a 2-card combo, a Herd Baloth with an Ivy Lane Denizen, so I can get infinite 4/4s. And so we were talking, and he's like, "Why do you have that?" And I was like, "Because that's fun to make infinite 4/4s. Why wouldn't I have that?" However, I think to take it to the next level, I would need to make it faster and more consistent and optimize it. And, I think there's a lot that goes into that. And the different level is, I want to have fun with it. And it's fun to do that every once in a while. The rest of the deck is fun as well. And so to me, it's like a high-powered casual, but it's not competitive because it could be better, right? It could be more optimized.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know if there's room for that, or I don't know how common that mindset is of I want to do, powerful stuff and I want to combo stuff, but I don't want to do it to the level that reaches competitive. I don't know how many people are building decks in that way.
Yeah. I think there's space for that. I think there is, because I think there are people who would like, and also just non-combo competitive decks could also fall in that range too. Like, I know your Slimes deck that you played at the last tournament, right?
Right. No
combos, no tutors, right? Do you have tutors?
Maybe one.
But they're not even getting a piece that you really need. Okay, crashing drop rage.
That's a pretty good one. That is a good one.
Yeah.
But even those kind of decks could play with those other decks too, in a casual setting, as long as everyone's talked about it and agreed. Kala is an example that I think of. A lot of people build Kala decks for casual, and it can just run away with the game. But it's definitely not a competitive deck. So it's kind of that in-between space that I think needs to be talked about, defined slightly better than it is.
Sure.
I also think that combos in general probably don't belong in the truly casual space, and not just that, but the tutors for them is what makes them more problematic in the casual space, is being able to consistently pull off the combos. I think the combo packages alongside the tutors is what would be most people would probably consider that problematic in a casual space.
Here's one thing that they talk about in the bracket system specifically. They talk about you're allowed to have an infinite combo, but you need an 8-card infinite, right? It's not, you can't just have demonic and thoracle, right? You can't do those things. But I have a casual deck, which is, I think you guys will make fun of me for this one. I have a Verloth the Ancient. I don't know if you guys know that one. This is a card. Yeah. That card I used to play in Invasion Block, way back when. So when they downshifted it in, was it Commander Masters, I believe? I was like, hell yeah. Actually, me and one of our Patreons named Lotad, he actually built the deck, and I was like, oh, sold. And I grabbed it. It has an infinite, because essentially what Verloth is, actually, let me pull it up to read it to you. It has a ton of text for its era. So Verloth the Ancient is a 6-mana 4/7 Tree Folk. It has kicker cost of X, colorless. Saproling creatures and other Tree Folk creatures you control get +1/+1. When Verloth the Ancient enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create X 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens. So essentially, if you pair this with something that produces you green mana and an Ashnod's and Energy Refractor, and you need a bunch of pieces. You need a bunch of pieces. But he goes infinite by himself. But you can't tutor for Ashnod's. You can't tutor for the green mana producer. You can't tutor for any of the pieces that you need to be able to effectively do it. So here's kind of what I'm alluding to, and I'll just ask you guys straight up. If we were playing Game of Casual and I accidentally did the combo on turn 5, it could actually go off on turn 4, but that's turn 1, play the first piece, turn 2, play the second piece, turn 3, play Ashnod's, turn 4, play the elf, turn 5.
Yeah, that's already turn 5.
Yeah, it's turn 5. It's the fastest they can do it, because you need the dork turn 1. I don't remember all the pieces, but it's a lot. Or I did it on turn 12. Would there be a difference in the dynamic that I would produce at the table?
I think if I was aware of it, like if you sat down and explained that to me, like that it was possible to do on turn 5, but it's not common to like it's not going to happen very often. And I agreed to it. I don't think I'd have a problem with it. Definitely not on late game, turn 11 or 12. As long as I knew about it, I'd be totally fine with it. And I also think that it probably depends a lot on who you're playing with, though, too.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
So if you sat down and you said this deck has an infinite combo, here are the pieces, and then I think it's on the person to either look out for that, to prevent that. I think that's fine as long as you're being honest, open, and not trying to get anyone, not trying to trick anyone. I mean, you're not trying to be sweaty and try hard versus competitive. You're not going to give anybody information that they don't earn, whatever. But if it's a casual deck, and say, hey, this deck can sometimes do this, and it's fun, and whatever. Look out for this stuff, and if I do this, then I'm trying to combo. I think it's kind of mindset and a conversation. I at the same time, I don't think those are those aren't. You're not expecting to see a lot of those type of decks in casual. Not that they're unwelcome, but just not a lot of them.
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot of it is intent, unless I'm reading the room wrong. But I could definitely see it because the few experience I've had playing casual, like the first game ever I played of casual on curve turn 4, the dude played Pestilence against me. I was like, dude, what? Like, come on, seriously? Like my deck I was playing Boros. I was playing the twins, not the twins, the father and son. The tap a creature and then the sun gets a pump. I was like, bro, my deck literally just folds. Like, I have no enchantment removal. My deck is 1/1s and bounce creatures and tappers. I have 0 removal in the entire list. I didn't even play Bolt. I played deal 3 damage to target permanent and make a Power Stone. That was my only form of removal.
Wow, jeez.
Yeah. But yeah, super uncool. But you guys kind of said something, and I know Rohan, this is a question that Rohan wanted to bring up to you guys. Do you mind elaborating on it, Rohan? The comp deck, the competitive decks in the non-combo competitive decks.
Oh, yeah. You guys kind of alluded to one of them. I think the notorious one when we talked about Arabella and Winota. But are there decks that I mean, it's really a conversation amongst all of us. I mean, because we have the insight on the competitive side. But, decks that are really, really strong that we see regularly in the competitive world that don't actually have combo wins, They are either, they're trying to beat you down or alternatively just play a really brutal control game. How would you feel if one of these commanders, because usually they're commander specific, showed up at your table? I think an example that comes to the top of my head is something like Aranis Street Urchin. If you saw that at the table, would you immediately be like, no way, we're not dealing with that?
So I'm not actually super familiar with Aranis Street Urchin. So
the machine gun.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Lobber.
Everything.
Yeah, that thumbnail that Lobber made was great for.
The deck is
super controlling, right?
Yeah. Core control deck.
It is. If it's sitting at the table, you're like, all right, this is going to be a turn 22 game. You're in the long haul. You're like, all right, everything the deck plays is fodder for the commander to shoot, and Aranis has Death Touch. So you're just going to sit there, and it just shotguns every single creature.
You feed it.
You can't keep any creatures on the board.
Yeah, and if they get any of your artifact lands, good luck. It's going to get shot.
If you want to play against the most miserable pod ever, sit down next to Aranis at one side and Hollow Marauder at the other. Then add Arabella to the other end, and whatever, you're just like, okay, I'll just play this game of Magic today, guys. Miserable. No one has hands.
You have
no one
no
has
board.
Creatures.
You have no life.
It is.
Yeah, that's awful. And you named 3 great ones, right? That I would not want to see at a casual table, right? Hollow Marauder, Arabella. Also, I think it's pretty hard to build a casual deck. Even if you tried to build a casual deck and tried to fool everyone that this is a casual deck, I promise. just the very nature of the decks. That's not how they work.
Yeah,
you'd have to build it wrong, right? You'd have to build it in an incorrect way, and at that point, why not just run a different commander?
Yeah, that's super fair.
Arabella, you just play like anything and it works. You play Hollow Marauder, you cast it a couple times. People are like, why did you make me discard cards?
Yeah. I guess you don't have to target everyone with your Hollow Marauder. You just say
target nobody.
No targets.
1 mana, 4/2 flyer.
I just wanted a flying beater.
Yeah.
Got it.
Chris, I guess a question for you. Are there any other commanders like that, like those three that you feel like, regardless of what you put in the 99 or the 98 if it's partner, that like they're just too strong? It's just like by nature of them existing is just over the top.
Depressingly, I do think there's a lot of commanders in the competitive sphere. TPI, I think, is far too strong. Like, you close your eyes and just play literally anything. You just have a deck of mana rocks, and you will have an army of tokens. Scholar of the Ages, doesn't matter what blue spells you put in the deck. If you can have one counter spell, you'll have the counter spell the whole game, right? Like, Gut Leader, I don't think you should be playing Leader as a background. Like, 6/3 skeletons and they're black, so they dodge like many things.
Speaking of that, I know you said Leader as the background. How do you guys feel, jalapeno poppers, about Gut in general? If you saw a Gut player at the table, are you just like?
Well, I don't think I am as familiar with a Gut competitive deck, so I don't know what that would look like. So I would ask you: is it possible to build a casual Gut deck?
That's kind of my question. I actually don't know.
Not Gut White. Yeah, so
I'll try it. So I'll let you know.
So essentially, what Gut Leader is, it's just a deck full of crappy cards. It's like crappy, for lack of a better term. That's what a lot of people say. When you look at Gut Leader as like a deck, you're like, this don't work. It's like Chromatic Stars and like Doom Travelers and like, what are these? Like, these cards are kind of
most value 1-for-1 creatures ever.
Yeah, but Gut snowballs, right? So what Gut does is when it goes to combat, you sack anything you want, and it creates a 4/1 tapped and attacking menacing token. Essentially just doesn't die. And if you play Leader, all tokens you control get +2/+2, which is the
so just
biggest
imagine this math.
lord.
You're getting the hit for 4, and then 8, and then 16.
Yeah, because of Leader just like multiplies it by tenfold, and we only have 30 life. So first player's dead on turn 5. Just turn 3 Gut, turn 4 Leader, and they're dead on turn 5.
Chris, so you said just lead. Like, would you only say that combo, that color combo it's like too broken for casual? Like, would you be okay with like a Gut Cloakwood Hermit? It still sounds broken to me.
It still sounds pretty broken. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, you still have an engine with just
Gut Feywild Visitor sounds pretty broken.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Actually, that's his casual deck.
Well, you know what's funny, and this kind of makes me feel kind of like better about like our entire conversations that we're having here, is that they don't actually know a lot of the commanders that we're even bringing up, which makes me feel good that they don't even play against it, which kind of like tells the truth about casual versus competitive, right? Because I'm just rattling off commanders they've literally never seen before, and they already said 2 that I had no idea what they were either. So that makes me feel really good, because I don't want to be like, like you play against Hollow Marauders all the time, and I play against, casual, like Voracious Cobra. That's all I got. Like, that's one of my favorite cards.
Gary's? No, let's stick with Gary.
Grey Merchant that seems way too strong for casual.
How do you guys feel about Grey Merchant of Asphodel? Have you ever seen one?
I haven't seen one.
Not as a commander.
Yeah.
But I don't see that. I think that was one that could go both ways.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I feel like it would.
You can definitely abuse it, right? I mean, you can definitely make it competitive. There's an obvious competitive line, but I don't know.
That's a lot of life loss in life.
Yeah, it's reminds me of Arabella, right? The life swing. So it might be hard. Yeah, it's probably powerful enough on its face. Another one I was thinking of that might cross the line is a Tatiova.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that.
Just draw cards.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
That's one that could be very powerful, the effect, but it also could be just, hey, I think this is a fun effect and I want to draw cards.
That's an interesting point. It's like Tatiova is like one of, and I don't know how many commanders like this even exist in our format that I feel like is too strong for casual, but not strong enough for competitive.
Well,
Yeah,
I do,
unfortunately that list.
I do believe we have so maybe this is a hot take, but I've been saying this for about a year now, and I believe we have a high-powered sphere in this format to where like a deck like Tatiova, sorry to break the news to a lot of you guys out there, but I don't find it to be worth, I would not take it to a tournament. Like you couldn't get me to figure out a version. I don't play stop my opponents from playing the game. I play try to win the game, right? So Tatiova, if I had 3.5 hours in a round, I would bring that deck all day and I would thrash everyone, but you don't have 3.5 hours in a tournament setting. So I would definitely not bring it.
Yeah, I feel like that herd bailoff deck then would live if there was a bracket system for us. Maybe it would be like a 3 bracket system, and if the middle one's like a high powered kind of bracket, maybe that herd bailoff deck lives in there.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you one more question, you guys. I've actually played against a casual Tatiova list, and it was totally fine. But they had to the dude, because I was playing the father and son pair, the dude actually showed me his deck because I was like, bro, it's Tatiova. And I'm like, what are you going to do? Cultivate and do this and do that and Peregrine Drake me? He's like, no, dude, I play Cultivate. I play these cards. He goes, I'm going to try to kill you with a Rust Goliath and Eldrazi's. And I was like, there's 2 Eldrazi's in the format. He goes, no, there's not. There's a few. And I was like, okay.
And I had every single one of them.
Yeah, dude. He was playing all of the weird ones. And it was just make mana, draw more Eldrazi's, and tap out every turn for some big giant thing. It reminded me, what's the cascading deck? I know when you guys know it.
Yeah.
Maelstrom Colossus.
No, it's the snake. 5 mana.
Yep. And then Cascade. It gives you other things Cascade.
Yes.
I don't remember what it's called.
I know that card, but not the name of it.
Yep.
It's got an ugly printing from the March of the Machines
it did.
bonus sheet.
No,
it's not Emoti. Is it Emoti?
It's Emoti. It's Emoti. Emoti. There we go. We did it, guys. Sorry it took so long. I have played against Emoti countless times in tournament play. And it finally got to the point where people were like, it's not competitive. You're rolling the dice way too hard. But that's exactly what that Tatiova deck reminded me of. And I was like, it still felt too strong. And I know that's kind of stupid to say, but he had 10 mana on turn 6. And he just scaled from there. So playing a 10 mana creature wasn't difficult. It was like Ulamog's Crusher. I was like, it's got Annihilator too. That's not cool. How do I beat that card? So I don't know. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on something?
We do play a lot of Eldrazi.
Oh, really?
We actually do. And I think because we're fine, and I think most people might be fine with ending the game at a reasonable time, right? So we're not cheating them out early by any means. We're getting to turn 10, 11, and then casting it and trying to end the game overwhelm.
I've attacked you with a 16/16 Trampler.
Yeah.
I tried to, I've hasted out plenty of big Maelstrom Colossus at you. And so he always has answers, though.
Not always. But I think that's what makes it fun to do that kind of stuff at a time that's expected during the game.
Right.
That's, I think, the key is... The key difference is, the speed. And I also like watching other people's decks kind of go off, too. That's what makes it fun to sit down and play a casual game, is to have everybody enjoy what's going on.
Well, now you guys maybe want to ask one more question now. Because you just said the speed. Would you want to get rid of rituals? Lotus Petal? All of our fast mana?
I think when we started playing, we put it in more than we do now. I try not to put it in anymore because of some of the turns that it would generate. but not knowing, like being new to it and not understanding what that could do to a game, we definitely played it. It made you a target, is what it did. Especially when you're not doing super broken things, you're just doing it to get ahead of everyone else.
Right.
It made you a target to play those cards, and so it can be advantageous to not do them.
Oh,
right.
It's like,
Yeah, it's tricky though.
I think
ring signet.
Yeah, exactly. I think intent matters if you have a specific plan with your Lotus Petal or whatever, versus I'm just going to throw this in here just because I need an extra mana rock and I don't know what it's going to do for the deck. It doesn't have a specific plan to break something, but it's like I get an extra mana on one turn. I can get something a little bit bigger out. But again, I think that's fine power level wise, but then you're going to be a target. So if your deck can handle that, fine.
And if you're okay, if that happens, then I don't see a huge problem with it.
I put it in a deck. I put Lotus Petal in a deck recently that we played with on our channel. So
that's right.
But it didn't have a specific, this and this and this, and you need Lotus Petal to carry this out. So turn 3, it didn't have a specific plan.
Yeah, I feel like it's like if you're trying to like use the fast mana just to literally just go faster.
Yeah,
that's not really a casual mindset in the first place, right?
Yeah.
You're like not really playing casual at that point. It's like I'm trying to win because I want to get my dudes out before you and kind of smother the table, right? You're probably not. That's probably not the game that you should be playing. Yeah, either you're not going to have fun because you're going to get beaten into dust, or the rest of the table's not going to have fun because they're just going to lose too quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I once played one of my first casual decks, or PDH decks in general. I didn't even know about competitive, Pauper when I first started playing. I built a Circara Dragonstorm list with like 22 Dragons approaches, or 25 Dragons approaches, and like all the rituals and fast mana and all of that stuff, right? I'm just trying to like storm out. And it's like one of those decks that like it was too strong for casual. I would just get my butt handed to me, right? And be like playing non-games, or I would just crush everybody by like turn 5 because no one would have proper removal or counter spells because we're playing casual, and that feels bad. And then once we started playing more competitively, there was no hope in winning the game. So that deck actually, it only lasted maybe like almost a year, and then it just got completely dismantled. R.I.P. Yeah.
That sounds like an awesome deck, though.
It was cool. It was a cool deck.
So I think there's a space for those cool decks. Like, I think there should be another space for those cool decks that, are in between, right? Like, high-powered casual or bad competitive decks, right? Another way of looking at it.
Well, I mean, one of the ones that we had brought up earlier was Sir Conrad. One of you guys brought up Sir Conrad.
Yeah.
And, was it you, Rohan, that brought up, a rat version of Sir Conrad? Tribal rats?
Yeah, rat tribal. Yeah.
Sadly, I think that would... I think it would still be too competitive for casual, and it would fall into, that gray zone, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you just have Sir Conrad in play and anything dies in combat, right, you're just, draining the table, which is a bit, kind of rough, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of not cool.
I mean, once you have, 5 rats out, they're pretty large.
Yeah, they're 6'1".
Huge.
Yeah, some huge monstrous number.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of heir apparent decks probably fit under there too, right? It's like
I could see that.
They're probably way too overwhelming for.
I was going to ask, how are your guys' experience with heir apparent so far?
If any.
Never seen it in a casual game.
Yeah, not in casual.
It's funny because we don't really see it in competitive either. I think it's one of those things that just lives in like the nowhere land,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this nowhere land, if it could be defined more and given some guidance, could exist. I think a lot of people don't play there though because it's not strong enough to play in these competitive games that are all over the discords, right? People want to play competitive, test their decks against competition. And so they're not good enough there, but they're too good for the casual side. But I think if we could define that group, somebody could better. I think there could be a lot of fun games in that space with these kind of decks.
Oh, yeah. I think my favorite commander specifically lives right there. And that is
my
Armix.
my favorite Pauper deck overall lives
You
in
love
that
Armix
space.
too much.
Favorite ever. Wait, it might be the
what's
same
yours?
commander. It might be the same commander.
Mine's Armix.
Okay, mine's Amber.
Amber. Oh, Amber's a good one. That's a really good
love
one.
Amber.
Yeah.
I have a special place in my heart for Amber Green. I know I can never play that at a casual table, but just making big things off of Amber triggers is just so fun. Especially stacking the Amber trigger so I get to draw first and then pump her up. Amazing.
Yeah, I think this space needs to be defined more because these decks sound fun, like a casual plus bracket or something, where people could actually talk about these decks and play them against each other instead of just have them go by the wayside if you're competitive or if you're casual.
Right.
Yeah, like the Amber Hardy deck that like Franklin is actually talking about could produce like a 15 powered creature on turn 5, but it's just one, and it's only till end of turn, right? So like you could deal with it. It's not like extreme.
Don't stick a body in front of it.
And it's also just the vanilla, right? You could just block it with 1/1. So it's not like it's extreme, but the same with like Armix, right? Like Armix can't survive in competitive play because it dies to every protection spell in all of the entire format, which is everyone plays them. And then because we have all the Grey Flickers now, if you kill somebody's commander, you're like, haha, 9 out of 10 times you help them. So it's like, so like Armix can't live there either. So it's like, bring them together.
That I also have an Armix Rebecca Pillow Fort control where I just give everything protection from every CMC and poke in at people for just little amounts of damage, and no one can hit me, and I eventually win out of attrition. It's a miserable deck to play against, but it's like awful in a competitive world. It just like can't win, and it's just way too annoying to try and play casual. So, but I love that deck. It's so cool and it's so interesting.
Well, it sounds like we're all kind of on the same page, which I appreciate.
So we need the rules committee.
Yeah,
we need to define the space. So maybe at the end of all of this, maybe we do actually need a bracket system. Maybe that's something that needs to be developed.
I think it would be helpful for a couple of reasons. I think as we started getting into Pauper more, we were looking for some sort of guidance, and it was hard to define casual versus competitive. I mean, there are big obvious differences, but there's nuances that were hard to define, and so we're still exploring that, and there's still questions. Obviously, we're talking about it, but I think a bracket system would have really helped us to get into it more, to steer clear of things that are, not casual friendly, and then also to have a little more guidance on, what decks should we be building if we're trying to get this type of game? What decks should we be building? I think it would help a lot of new players and help grow the format.
for sure. Like that's the big thing. Like we were motivated to figure it out.
Yeah.
Not everybody is. So if it was easier for people to figure out the best way for them to play Pauper Commander, that should be the goal. And it's not very clear currently. Like it was actually really hard for us to figure out how to get into this, how to create a casual deck and where to even start. And like I said, the first pod that I played was with three of my buddies who we'd never played before, and we just left our own to come up with decks. And one of my friends built Abdel Blue, and not knowing anything, like none of us knew what to. So we thought, oh, that looks really cool. We all sat down, that looks super cool. And then it just kind of steamrolls us, and we're like, oh, well, maybe this isn't as balanced of a format as we thought it would be playing with only commons. And it was discouraging. So we stopped. We didn't play anymore. And a couple months later, I hooked up with Miles, and we started looking into it more because I just knew that it could be really fun. But it was not easy to figure out, and it needs to be easier for people to figure out to grow the format for sure.
Because on its surface, it looks like, oh, casual or all commons. Oh, that levels out the format, but not true.
Not true.
There's wide range of power levels within the format. Yeah,
and that's a big discussion that I think we've been trying to have here too, where we see people saying, "Oh, we're playing all commons. Of course, the power levels can be fairly balanced." It's not. Like,
no.
I think this kind of bracket system would also help competitive out a lot. In tournaments, one of the things that I hear frequently, and it's annoying and upsetting to hear, honestly, is like a lot, especially from sort of very competitive players who've been in the competitive format now for a couple of years, or tournament grinders and whatnot. They're like, oh yeah, I came into this tournament, but I was sitting at a table with like two people who had these jank decks. They didn't do anything, and it like king made the game. I should have won that. It's like created this power imbalance at the table that was just like too big of a void to overcome, and it caused all sorts of sort of threat assessment issues and problems with that type of game. And it's like, it's not those players' fault, for like bringing their casual decks. That they just brought the decks they had. You know what I mean? Like, and the guidance doesn't exist out there, like you guys are saying, right? Like they don't know. There's no easy place to go and say, okay, what should I expect at a Pauper EDH tournament? What makes a competitive deck competitive? What are the heuristics that, like, what are the 5 or 6 things that I can just look at and be like, okay, oh, dang, like my Wirewood Symbiote Elf Tribal deck is not going to cut it here. Crap. Like, maybe I should rethink that and like just proxy out another deck, or whatever. Or maybe update my deck in a certain way that has some of these things that they're saying makes a competitive deck. Maybe I need these tutors, and maybe I need a combo in there, or what have you. Maybe I need to figure out how to win by turn 6, 7, and bring a more competitive deck. I think that would help. That would help our tournaments out a lot.
No, I completely agree with that, Rohan. I also think. Tell me if you think I'm wrong with this thought. There's parallels between the commanders, right? Like if you're trying to be as spiky as possible, right, and you want to play a Blink commander, you're going to play Abdel Blue. But if you want to take it down to the casual level, there's so many Blink commanders that you could play. Soul Herder's one, but there's a Kithkin, Miss Meadow. Oh, it's just on the tip of my tongue.
Miss Meadowitch?
Yeah,
Miss Meadowitch.
I forgot the other blue-white one with the guy who's just like holding like this.
Yeah, there's so many, right? So like you can make the parallels down, right? You don't have to play Sir Conrad or Holomarauder, right? You could play, the infinite amount of other mono black commanders that you could play, right? They give you some sort of value, something in the command zone, right? So like I really do believe that dynamic is truly split, kind of like we've all been discussing here, and it would kind of be who of someone to come up with something like this.
Yeah, some sort of committee of the rules.
Yeah. But any last thoughts from you guys?
I think this discussion is a really good place to start. I think having these discussions is going to benefit a lot of people. I don't like setting strict rules for these things, but having guidelines and spaces where you can talk about your decks and the things that your deck wants to do, I think it's super important. And this format is awesome. We've loved it since we started playing. It is so much fun, and I know more people would enjoy it. We just need to figure out how to market it to them in a better way. And I think this is a great start.
Yeah, I would also say this is true of the EDH brackets as well, but it doesn't mean that different levels can't play with each other, right? It's just an easy way to communicate about them. But it's not hard and fast. It's not black and white. There's always going to be gray, and it's not going to make everyone happy. But I think it's guidelines, right? Guideposts and just more information for folks who aren't familiar and for strangers, and it can be helpful in play groups as well. But like Bernie said, I think it's a great place to start. And I thought it was interesting. We initially said this would benefit the casual community the most, which is probably still true. But it was interesting to hear you say that it would benefit the competitive community as well. So, which would be great. It would, just help everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just reduces the feel bads across the board.
Yeah.
Just in general. And I mean, I think we talk about this a lot on our server, on our Discord server. It's like, how do we get people to really dig into being, like people who are like competitive minded, how do we get them to really dig into building more competitive decks, right? Like, and really pushing their decks to win. And actually, by setting up these types of brackets and heuristics and guidelines, that helps a lot. that immediately helps a lot because you've like funneled people who were thinking about that already. Now they have a place to go and they're like, oh, cool. I want to do that kind of deck. I want to build the tier 3 deck.
Yep. And then they can see like what they need to do to push higher.
Yeah, and I need to find the people who are building those kinds of decks. It would help actually significantly.
With that said, you guys want to take us home?
Yeah, well, first of all, you guys plug your podcast. Where can we find you on social? Where do you live on the internet?
Jalapeno Poppers on YouTube.
Blue Sky, X, Instagram. Yeah, check us out on YouTube. That's where we are most active, probably.
Yep. Hit us up there. Thanks for letting us filthy casuals hang out with you guys for a minute.
Yeah, really appreciate it. This was really fun.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the pod, so
absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
We're right back at you.
Yeah, Miles, it's always great hearing people talk about your Leaping Glizrog deck.
Yes. It's not the last time you'll see the slimes.
Oh man, it's still it's still great that like you don't really cast the frog. It's just like, why is there so many slimes? Why is there still more slimes?
Yes. Yeah, I think I cast the Lizrog once, and so I have to reevaluate. I don't even need that commander.
Franklin, the slimes will continue until morale improves.
Yes.
You know what? I think the slimes are probably the best out of the play as many copies as you want because, oh my god,
I would have to agree.
You only have one Echoing Truth. That's the bigger problem.
But you have many Archaeomancers.
Depends on the deck, but yeah, sure. I still only have the one Echoing Truth.
Franklin, where can you find us?
All right, so you can find us, Common Theory, over on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Blue Sky. We barely ever post on X. And support us over on Patreon. All proceeds go over to our editor, Izlain. And also become a YouTube channel member. We recently uploaded the first pre-show with me and Rohan where we're talking about the red removal spells. Unfortunately, I kind of forgot to hit record for the pre-show for this one, but we'll get something out there for you guys. And with that, everyone, Bernie Miles, any final parting shots you guys want to do?
Stay spicy, guys.
Yes.
All right, take care, everyone.
Thank you for watching. And if you want to support the channel, please subscribe and join the Discord in our link below. And become a member over on our Patreon.
Shout out to all of our patrons: Eric, Cobraman, Aaron, Dax, Devin, NYC Burrito, Little Rat Lotad, Frank, Scoob, HZ, and Too Much Do. Thank you for all of your support.